Okay, so according to this, we're live, and there's going to be a 10-second delay, and so I'm learning to trust this. But I am watching my phone to see it show up, and oh, yeah, okay, there it is. All right, excellent. Oh, let me mute this too. Yeah, okay, there it is. All right, excellent. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to another Monday night with Carnivore Talk. My name is Bob, and we have Jeff here tonight with us. And it's so good to have all of you here. We enjoy these Monday night lives. They've been going really well. We've had some good discussions over the past few weeks, and we've enjoyed some chats and interacting with the audience. So feel free to comment, and we look forward to getting over to the chats and interacting with you over the next hour or two. Sometimes these last a while, and sometimes they don't. So, but we're glad to have you here either way. Our theme for tonight is why do some people fail on a carnivore diet? And we thought this was a good topic because we hear all the time of these wonderful, experiences and these wonderful success stories and all these benefits that people enjoy. But then from time to time, you have individuals that are saying, I haven't experienced any of these things, so what gives? And usually that requires, some investigation and some discussion. And so that's exactly what we're going to have tonight is we're going to discuss why this carnivore diet fails, or at least might seem to fail or feel like it's failing at the beginning for some individuals. So I'm going to go ahead. We have a meathead coming to the stage. So welcome, meathead, to our discussion.
Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm cooking.
You're cooking?
Busy cooking.
All right. What are you cooking?
I ground up 21 pounds of brisket yesterday, so I'm having brisket burgers.
Awesome. Okay. I actually, this isn't anything to boast about on a dedicated carnivore channel, but I actually tried Spam for the first time tonight. So in over 2 years as a carnivore and 49 years of life, I've never had Spam, but I actually tried it tonight, and it was actually pretty good. So I enjoyed it. It's just, I don't think it's something that I've obviously become a staple per se, but it was okay. So, and Jeff, how are you?
If you look at the ingredients list.
Yeah, no, it's a questionable meat product for sure. There's a little bit of cornstarch in there, so it's not clean per se. And but neither's your bacon, neither's your beef bologna. So I eat beef jerky sometimes, and that's not always perfectly clean. But I'm okay with that. So I know some people they don't want any of those additives, and that's okay.
That's one of those moderation things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna have to leave. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So how's things going on there in Texas?
Doing great. Weather's nice and warm, just the way I like it.
Mm-hmm. Keeps
my joints fluid. I've been working all weekend. Well, part of last week and all weekend long on rebuilding my offset smoker. Firebox on it. Finally burned out after about 20 years, so I built or installed a new firebox, and I'm in the process of building it. Just got my hinges on, cutting my doors now. Then when I get that done, I'll be building some new racks for the inside. It's going to be a complete makeover. When I get done with this beast, it'll have to go in the wheel and be willed to one of my kids because it's going to outlast me.
I'm trying to get this thing working here just a sec.
All right, we'll bring him back in just a minute. All right, very good. Well, that's good to hear. It's been still unseasonably cool and raining here in Ohio. I've opened up my pool just to get it cleaned up and ready to jump in, but it hasn't even really been warm enough to jump in yet, which is kind of sad because we're almost in the middle of June already. And I only get a couple good months out of the year. So let's talk about our theme for tonight. Why do some people fail on a carnivore diet? So I did take some notes here, and but you suggested this theme, so why don't you go ahead and get us started? Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yeah, you keep spacing out there.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I wanted to know if you wanted to. You suggested the theme for this. I wanted to know if you wanted to start
Sure.
with this subject, or if not, I'll go ahead and start with the notes that I took and the points that I do want to bring up.
All right. Well, how about I'll bring up a point, then you bring up a point. We'll just jump back and forth with this.
Okay.
And if Meathead gets back in, he can throw his 2 cents in. So first and foremost, one of the biggest reasons is for me that I see is people don't have a commitment. They don't have the right mindset. They don't come into this with the right attitude. They want to approach it as though it's a diet. They want to lose some weight, and I get that. But the thing is, it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. This is something that you're not going to come in and do and then get off of it. You have to commit yourself to it at least for 90 days. You do it for 90 days, there's a good chance that you're going to find the benefits of it are worthy of sticking with it forever. But the mindset is everything. You've got to come in with a mindset that I'm not going to fail. I'm going to do this. My gosh, anybody can do this for 90 days. All you got to do is give it a try. And unfortunately, a lot of people have never in their lives had to really put out any effort for anything, have really had to strive hard for anything. And I know I was raised to push myself to my limits, and then when my time in the Army, they instill in us a hard charging, move forward, be committed to your mission. And so I carry that type of attitude with me into the carnivore lifestyle. So I think having your mindset right, that you're going to win, you're not going to fail, nothing will stop you from achieving your goals. I think that's first and foremost the biggest mistake people make right off the get-go.
Yeah, and I actually like that. That's good advice there. I know in all the previous times that I have tried to diet or tried to commit to a diet, the mindset it wasn't there. It was actually I had to work myself into this diet mode because I kind of really didn't want to do it, even though I knew I needed to do it. And so I would procrastinate, but I used to have to start talking to myself months in advance, like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then I'd start low carb, and then I'd go, a little lower carb, and then I'd go keto. And then I'd fall off the rails, have a meal and fall off the rails. And what's different this time around, because now I'm 2 years plus into it, is I had to be committed. I had to find my why, and I had to make what I always refer to as vows. I take my vows seriously, and so I had to make a vow with myself that this is something I was going to do for life. And my vows were basically worded like this: I would never again eat grains or refined sugar ever again. And that basically eliminates all ultra processed foods, as well as staples you find on the sugar diet, which has been a hot topic as of lately. No no Coke bottles, no Sour Patch Kids, and no gummy bears and things like that. So basically, I've been eating nothing but single ingredient whole foods, just like you would have found in nature in ancient times. And that's predominantly meat. So because we were predominantly hunters, especially if you lived in northern climates, you had to depend on your hunting skills to feed you and your family for the majority of the year, at least. And so that's kind of the lifestyle that I try and imitate now. And we've talked about that too, where it is a lifestyle, not a diet, even though the primary definition of diet is lifestyle. That's not the way people think of it today. That the definition of that word is actually kind of changing with time, So
yeah,
I agree.
Too many people use the term diet.
So we lost you. Yeah, you froze. We'll see if you unfreeze. And so while we're waiting to see if Jeff unfreeze, let's go say hi to some individuals over here in our comments here. So we know Rick says he's going to join us soon. He just has to finish cleaning behind his ears, and he'll be with us. And who else do we have over here? Papa Carnivore, glad you could join us. I wanted to see that tonight. Ben Azadi over in Dr. Kiltz's live. But I have an issue with. I've been having an issue with my dog, and so I came home and I had to clean up a major mess, and then we had to get her expedited to a vet. So I've unfortunately had to miss Dr. Kiltz tonight. But I would have loved to seen Ben Azadi. I follow him on social media on YouTube. He's a very good guy, and so hopefully I'll be able to find a recording of that, because I did miss it, and I enjoy Monday nights with Dr. Kiltz. I see Jeff's coming back, so let's bring him back to the stage, and we'll stick around over here in the comments since we got them started here. And Rick says he found an iguana in his yard going after his mangoes instead of an iguana trap. So that's cool. So one of these days, we're going to come down there for some iguana, but you should maybe share a photo of you preparing an iguana. That would be exciting to see. Target Prime Rib and Mr. Sean, good to have you both here tonight. Target, you talked about jumping in here, and if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. The link is over at the carnivoretalk.com community, which you can register for free. And then there's a private section down towards the bottom of the page, and that's where you can find the link, and you can be here on the screen with us if you would like. I believe that's what you indicated you may have been interested in doing earlier before. Maybe you're just talking about watching and joining us in the chat, and that's just fine too. But anyone who wants to join us on screen, right now we have an open door policy here. There's a roundtable discussion with a room for 10. And as of right now, we have 4, because we're going to bring Scott to the stage right now. So
hey, welcome back,
Scott.
Running late.
Yeah, that's okay. Better late than never. So we've got room for 6 more if you want to join us in this discussion on. And the theme for tonight is, why do some people fail on a carnivore diet? You can also get the link if you join the channel as a member. That costs less than a cup of coffee, but you don't have to do that because it's not about the money. Go over to carnivoretalk.com, join for free. That's just our way of kind of screening people. And what do we have going on here? And
looks like we have a couple more that want to join us later.
Yeah, that'll be good. So, we see Catlin, the bariatric carnivore. If that's Caitlin, my apologies. It looks like I spelled Catlin. And you're gonna finish. You're jumping here after you finish dinner. That'd be great. Awesome. And is that Ulfrob? Ulfrob? I think I'm doing better, and because in November they say that it looks. I should be putting these on the screen. That's what my bad. I forgot about that. Yeah, I was near death in November, and since then my markers have continued to improve, and my next I've had my kidney function, I think, was a couple months ago. I did lipids a couple weeks ago. Everything's improving. My next kidney panel I'm going to do in July because I have a nephrologist appointment at the end of July. And then I'll probably post an update video there. And hopefully things are continuing to improve in the direction I want them to go. I actually feel fantastic. My edema in the legs and my itching has gone. And I just have a little residual secondary hypertension from this whole mishap. And hopefully that will go down as the kidneys continue to heal. All right. You should be able to. Leah said she'd have a copy tomorrow. Yes. Okay. I'll look for that. And okay, just watch for now. Just watch for now. That's fine. So this is talking about Ben Azadi's over on Dr. Kilt's. It'll be posted tomorrow. And you're going to hang out in the comments. That's fine. And hey, Meathead, is that a modified Mohawk?
He walked off.
He's leaving the building. Yeah, but that's okay because he likes it. So
Yeah, I got to give me something to eat my dinner with.
all right, yeah, and then he answered him there. Okay, so go back to our discussion here. But first, Scott, how you been?
All good. Pretty good week. A lot of overtime, but it is what it is.
Working hard. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Working hard or hardly working? All right.
Well,
okay. Well, on this subject of why do some people fail on a carnivore diet, I think one of the reasons that people fail is because they failed to plan ahead and do their research. So as I learned about the carnivore diet, I learned that there would be potential adaptation symptoms, a transition period when you went to an all meat diet. And sometimes they call that the keto flu. And you can avoid that if you transition slowly, of course. But most of us, if you're like me, you want to kind of jump in head first because you want results and you want results now. But you need to be ready for what to expect, because if you're not ready, then you get caught off guard. You have some of those adaptation symptoms that first week to sometimes 4, 5, 6 weeks. You could have headaches. You're going to have changes in your bowel habits, and you're also going to have maybe some fatigue, which actually at first, if you didn't know this was coming, almost sounds like the opposite of what you were expecting, because you probably hear all these success stories about how people get all this energy to do this and that, and then you jump into a carnivore diet and you get this keto flu and you feel kind of tired and wiped out, and you're like, where's all this energy? And there's actually reasons for that we would get into. And then some people, they experience those symptoms and they say, well, this is a bunch of malarkey. I feel terrible. And so they quit the diet too soon. So that's one reason why some people fail. Now, there are reasons why you've experienced those fatigues, headaches, and bowel changes. And that's because you were formerly running on glucose for energy and carbohydrates. And that's what your body is expecting. This is what your body has been trained and adapted to. That's what it wants. And when you deplete all that, it's like running out of gas, and then your body is looking for more of that, but it's not there. And so your initial reaction will be a slowdown or a fatigue or a lack of energy or not feeling so hot. What needs to happen is your body needs to become fat adapted. So there's a period of time where you run out of that glucose and you have to start relying on those ketones. And that process, if you do it the first time, isn't necessarily instantaneous. But once you start depending on fat and ketones for your fuel, then you find that you've got the sustained energy you need to do what you need to do, and you feel better again. And you get those not only from the fat you consume, but if you're overweight, you might also get that from the fat that's hanging around on your body as well. And then, of course, there's some other tricks that can help you during that transition phase. And the two that come to my mind is salt liberally, and maybe even take some electrolytes, which I know we say on a carnivore diet you don't need to supplement, but in the beginning stages during this transition period, those can help. At least I found that to be so. Does any of you find that to be so too when you first started your carnivore journey?
Yes. And the whole
Yeah,
reason for that is in the beginning, you have no fiber holding anything back anymore. So you tend to flush out a lot of fluids. And to give you an idea of how much fluids you can flush out of your system. So my mother-in-law, who lives with us, she had lymphedema real bad, and they had her on all these pills and everything, water pills and everything to help flush that out, and nothing was working. She had to wear compression socks and everything, keep her feet elevated all the time. We put her on carnivore, and in about 2 months, her legs were normal again. She flushed all that fluid out because there was no fiber holding it back anymore. And so, yeah, in the beginning, we tend to flush out a lot of liquids, a lot of fluids. Our kidneys are processing the fluids more rapidly, so we tend to lose the electrolytes that we need. And we don't get the electrolytes like our ancestral man used to get. And so we sometimes have to supplement them. Now, you can get a lot of them from your meat. Dr. Barry has a very good video on that, on how you can get your electrolytes from your meats. The thing is, in the beginning, like you said, we're going to go through a little bit of a rough patch where we're going to lose those electrolytes, and you might need them in the beginning, but for long term, I don't think they're necessary if you're eating properly. And for people like me who have a heart condition or mine seems to be reversed, you have to be careful about taking electrolytes because you can get your potassium too high, which I did. And I got into dangerous levels. And the only way to tell that is through a blood test. And so I had to make sure that I cut out those electrolytes. And I just stick with salt now. And I do take some magnesium glycinate for some restless leg syndrome. But other than that, yeah, I don't do anything else.
Yeah, and that is a good point when it comes to the electrolytes, is to exercise caution, especially if you have some underlying conditions. Like Jeff mentioned, he has some heart issues, so the electrolytes can potentially cause some complications there, especially if you overconsume them. Some people, they really get into LMNT, or element as they call it. And they're tasty, and they mix these packets, and they might be sucking down 2, 3, 4 glasses of this a day. Maybe just stick with one, and the, carnivore doctors and the influencers will tell you that, don't worry, your kidneys will excrete the extra minerals that you don't need and keep everything in balance. And that's true, but you still have to give them time to work. And then you have a situation like me where I have stage 4 chronic kidney disease. And so just like you need to be cautious when it comes to the heart issues, you need to be cautious if you have kidney issues too. So I can also hoard potassium, and I can also hoard magnesium. So if I go overboard on those two particular electrolytes, I don't excrete them as fast as a normal human with good working kidneys will. And so I can't take those as often or in large doses, particularly potassium. I can take a little bit of magnesium. I have been able to salt my food liberally, or salt to taste. And, there's a lot of advice out there that says, salt is bad for you, and keep your salt under so much a day. And then especially if you have chronic kidney disease, don't buy it. Unless you get lab results and you find that you're not excreting the salt that you should be, you're going to be just fine. So I'm able to consume salt and do that without any trouble whatsoever. So yeah, so we get into the situation here where remember, this could be one more issue too. If you have high blood pressure, you may want to be careful with your electrolytes as well. So try that, just one pack, and 1 pack of electrolytes, or take none. When I started my carnivore diet, I didn't take any, and it wasn't until sometime later that I was getting leg cramps. But actually, I learned it was a medication that was causing those leg cramps. And then once I got rid of that medication, I'm back to not taking any electrolytes, and I'm doing just fine. I was going to say all this can be avoided, of course, if you transition slowly, and that's something that I actually do recommend, especially if you went from like barely any meat, high grain, high vegan diet, bring in the meat slowly and gradually over some weeks, increase your meat portion and lower your veg portion, and gradually transition into that carnivore diet so you don't really experience these symptoms. So the keto flu doesn't have to be a thing. The only problem here is this: if you are sugar addicted or addicted to ultra processed foods, this gradual approach probably isn't going to work for you. You probably have to jump into this cold turkey. So, because if you're like me, if you have a little, you're going to have a lot, and you're going to keep going back to it. All right. So let's see who else has joined us over here in the comments. So Steven says, if Rick has his crossbow tuned up, I can put him on some white-tailed deer this fall. All right. My dad was a deer hunter. Jeff, you're a deer hunter, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's something I never did. Something I wouldn't mind getting into is hunting. It just wasn't, I don't know. I just wasn't, my generation was more into video games. So we could get everything we wanted at the store. So it just never something we adapted to. All right. So Steve was on this morning. Tarot Destroyer says carnivores don't cook their meat. Not carnivores in the wild. That's for sure. Morning was fun. We all eat animals raw and alive. Tarot, is that what you do? So I do know some people that eat raw meat. That's what they're into. So,
I like my steaks. Raw, rare or blue. So that's about as close. I do want them warmed up.
Yeah. No, I know. I've seen some individuals that they're really they call it primal. That they're into eating their meat raw, eating their organs raw. I've seen.
And that's fine.
That's fine. I've seen Dr. Kiltz on some of his shorts eating literally raw beef fat, and it doesn't particularly appeal to me. Although I will admit I've tried it. I've been preparing a steak, and I'm like, well, let me see what this tastes like raw. It was okay. And then I did that once with some beef liver too. And believe it or not, the bite of raw beef liver I thought tasted better than the cooked beef liver I ended up with after I was done making it.
That's how the Indians preferred it.
That's how a lot of people I hear now, they talk about, can't remember the name, two carnivores. They're the goofy ones that rummage through dumpsters. Steve and Steph, they had raw liver, and they like it. They prefer it better than cooked.
I've never heard of them.
Steve and Steph, yeah.
Okay.
And I've eaten my share of raw meat in Pariza, steak tartare.
There you go.
Ceviche, poke.
Yep.
I've had my share.
Yep.
But the thing is, the only reason carnivores in the wild don't cook their food is because they don't have the ability to build a fire. But those who had the ability to build a fire cook their food.
All right. So Target Prime Rib says, I feel many fail because they want results to happen quickly. And when it doesn't happen quickly enough, they give up. Vitamin P.
Excellent.
Which is what for patients is what is needed. And you know what? That's actually a good point.
Expectations.
We can stop here and talk about this one for a while. Yeah. So it is true that some people experience rapid results to the point where they almost feel like it's a miracle. And as a result, they're all of a sudden they're on social media, they're starting YouTube accounts and they're telling their story, which is all good. That's all good. But it doesn't happen like that for everybody.
No,
and
it
so,
doesn't.
So,
Everybody's
yeah, go
different.
ahead. Mm-hmm. In fact, Jeff often cites a particular influencer who at first gained weight and didn't even lose anything for 6 months. And that was
Kelly Hogan.
Yep. Yeah. And then and actually it happens a lot with women too. As they go on the carnivore diet, they might at first gain a few pounds before they start losing the weight. And it does seem to be kind of more unique to them than it does men.
Well, that's because it appears to be a hormonal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm sorry they have to deal with it like that, but that it just is what it is. And,
hey, Jeff, don't be so biased, really.
and the thing is, a lot of people when they're going through that, they're not doing the diet right to begin with.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of it boils down to, because that's one of the issues that a lot of people have when they fail is they think this is a meat diet, and technically it's not. It's a fat diet. If you're not getting your fat, you're not supplying your body with what it needs, to burn energy, and it's going to be harder to lose weight. You've got to get that fat. Who was it? Somebody said recently this should be called a fativore diet, not a carnivore diet, because that is when you're getting 70 to 80% of your calories. Can't stand that term, but for lack of a better word, when you're getting that much of your calories from fat, then you're eating more fat than you are protein in calories, in energy, not so much in mass.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So, and I was doing something off screen here, so I kind of lost my thought. But yeah, so those results come in time. So also, the body sometimes prioritizes healing over losing weight. A lot of people they want the losing weight right away.
There you go.
And that's understandable because we want to look better, and and we want to and that's results that we can see. We can see it on our clothes, we can see it on the scale. And so a lot of people they want to lose weight.
Hey, Rick.
The body might prioritize healing, and so before the weight comes off, their body might have to reduce inflammation, fix some sort of stuff going on internally, and then the weight can start to come off too. So that's why we often say give this at least 30 or 60 days, preferably 90. I think most people, there's some people that they're going to need at least 90 days to see some results. And the results might be just how they feel, so they might lose a few pounds. They might lose 50 pounds. Whether they lose 5 pounds or 50 pounds, they might reduce inflammation, reverse a few illnesses, and feel great after 90 days. But if give it at least 90 days to start seeing the benefits, because it happens immediately for a lot, but it doesn't happen immediately for everybody. And that's why
that's kind of where I was at. Mine went in. I started. My son walks up on the cabin porch and he dropped. I hadn't seen him in a few weeks, and he had dropped 12, 14 pounds. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He said, "A carnivore diet." I go, "What's that?" He said, "Just eat meat, drink water." I was like, "I can do that." And so I just started. Like I posted before, I never read anything, looked up anything. I was way off on my salts in the beginning, but luckily I hit my fat content because we went mostly ribeyes and fatty cuts of meat. And so my weight started peeling off really fast. I mean, like the first 30 days, 31 days, I lost 30, 31 pounds. And it was just peeling off with like minimal effort. I mean, just coming right off. And then I was the one where the healing was taking place and I didn't even know it. It was like I watched the video and this lady was talking about how the carnivore diet had helped her with her MS. And I figured it was a crock. You know, I was waiting for her to try to sell me something. And then a couple of days later, I watched another video, and then I go, I hadn't taken any medicine this week. And because I normally take it after my long stretches of night shifts, and the Neurontin and the prednisone and whatnot. And I was like, coincidence. So mine came along, like weight came off really fast, really lucky. And then the healing was taking place before I even knew it. And then by the time I realized it had taken place, I was like, I'm not taking medicine anymore. And so this went from taking the same medicines 2 to 3 times a week for 6 years. And 6 weeks after eating a ribeye, I didn't take medicine anymore. And so that was pretty, you know, like I'm the guy that probably shouldn't be the standard because I don't think everybody responds. You know, I've read recently that people with autoimmune issues and inflammation issues seem to respond better to the carnivore high fat diet than your average everyday, even people with some other, you know, some medical issues. But so yeah, it seems like the people with autoimmune disease, multiple sclerosis, one's willingness with the willingness to try it. Neuromyelitis, like what I have, even some Crohn's disease, other autoimmune responses, you seem to respond really well as that takes the inflammation out of your body. So I was lucky. I mean, I hit a home run right off the bat, and so I don't think I'm the bar. I think everybody should be a little more patient. Whoever posted that just a minute was spot on because I think the world is just now. I want it now. I don't want to wait. And it's not a lot of patience out there. So I think that's a combination of two, hitting it right early, whether that's a ease into it or cold turkey, just hitting your fat contents right, electrolytes if you need them. But then the biggest part is just being patient because it's going to take time.
All right. And Rick, you've joined us. How are you doing today?
Good. I just got out of the bathtub with my rubber duckies.
All right. Cool. You all squeaky clean?
I think so.
You get behind the ears there?
I think I got all of it.
Okay.
Even the web feet.
All right. Very good. All right. Glad you could join us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been talking about why people fail on a carnivore diet. And if you've been listening and you have anything to add based on the points we've brought up already, feel free to speak up. Or if not, we'll go ahead and move on and onto our next points. But I'm also going to return to the chat here, too, in just a minute.
Hey, Lewis.
Well, one of the things that I really get frustrated with is that people just don't want to try it. I mean, how can you fail on something you never even tried? I could never get my parents to try the carnivore diet. You know, you were mentioning before about the lymphedema. My mother had that. She had to use this air pump with the 2 things you put on your legs, had to use it every night to try to get the legs smaller. And I kept telling my mom, you know, why don't you try eating some meat? You know, I don't have that problem. Well, you're a lot younger. You're not going to have that problem. But what I did do is when my mom became sort of immobilized, I used to create sort of my own carnivore foods. So I'd make bread out of carnivore ingredients. I cut all the carbohydrates. I found ways of, you know, making it where mom didn't know the difference. And I did give her green vegetables and all that. But actually the swelling went down on its own. Even though my mom was sicker, she didn't have that swelling anymore. So I should have known. But again, there was no carnivore community until a few years ago. And I mean, I don't even know if my mom would have listened because, again, your son can never tell the parents what to do. And I think the other thing is, because I call it the heart attack diet, I think a lot of people just thought I was on a suicide mission.
Yeah, when you word it that way, it sounds like it. You know, I tried to take myself out with a heart attack diet and it didn't work. I've heard you say that before.
Well, I'll be 57 this week and I'm still alive.
All right. Awesome. All right. Going back to our comments here. Sean says, I used instant hydration seawater twice a day, but I used the French gray sea salt on my meat and eggs. I use some pink Himalayan salt and I also use Malden's sea salt. So
I like the Malden's. I'm hooked on it.
Yeah, I use both those. I'll use the pink Himalayan as I'm cooking, and then I'll sprinkle the Malden's on after I'm done cooking. That's kind of the pattern I use.
But I hear that French gray is pretty good stuff too.
Yeah, well, Redmond's smoked, hickory smoked is just. You
know, Redmond's makes some good salts, and there's actually a woman that lives down the street from me. I met her on Dr. Barry's community. and she let me have some of Redmond's cherry smoked salt, cherry or cherry wood.
Yeah.
And man, it is fantastic, and it does inspire me to order more Redmond salt. I haven't done it yet, but I want to try all the different flavors of smoked salts now, because that was very impressive.
The only thing I don't like about Redmonds or any of the other Himalayan type pink salts is the minerals that they have in them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I don't mind them.
Yeah, it drives me nuts because when I'm eating it, I'll crunch on them. You know, and that it's taken me a while to get used to it, but I will use it for cooking. I don't notice the minerals in it as much, but if I'm going to salt my food, I prefer to salt it with the Maldens.
You know how to get rid of that grittiness is you just put it in a salt grinder.
Well, I don't know that it can get any finer than what it already is.
No, you just buy the granular. They have different grains, and you just buy and you put it in the salt grinder. That's what I did with the smoked salt, and I grind it on my food.
Yeah, I had posted on some forum about it some time ago on a different forum, and people were saying, well, they didn't notice any grains. There's no. I said, yeah, it's like sand in there, and I thought, well, maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm just imagining things, you know. So I went ahead and took a tablespoon and I poured it in some water and I dissolved it, you know, and poured off the water. And sure enough, there's sand left over. There's grit in there.
What did our ancestors eat?
Well, yeah, but I don't, you know, I'm not my ancestor, and I don't have to eat dirt. I mean, like I said, I still use it. I just use it more for my cooking. I don't notice it as much when I use it for cooking.
All right. So let's see here. Going back, I'm skipping a bunch of comments here that aren't worth putting up on the screen. So I remember hearing about Kelly Hogan. What about her? Yeah, that she gained weight when she first started. Yeah, that's I didn't know that either. I actually heard that from Jeff. I didn't know that about her.
Yeah, she has several videos about it, and I think she has a very inspirational story when it comes to that, because she got into it to heal. You know, the poor gal had been heavy all her life, and she had developed a lot of metabolic issues, and she got in it to heal. And what's inspirational about her is because even though she wasn't achieving weight loss, she was seeing the healing. And the healing is what motivated her to stay with it. That's what it was all about. And then eventually, after about 6 months or so, she started losing. You know, you look at the girl now, you'd never know that she was ever heavy. But she stuck with it. She had that determination to stick with it.
We welcome Lewis to the chat. How you doing, Lewis? Glad you could join us tonight. And let's see here. My brother and sister are both doctors, won't listen. Both are obese, diabetic, high blood pressure, on Ozempic. Both think I'm the crazy one.
So, in other words,
I'm the
typical
crazy
doctors.
meat-eating brother.
Typical doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still one of the funniest things. You know, you can list, you know, someone can sit there with a Big Mac, fries, supersized drink. And if you say, oh, I just eat meat, salt, and water, I'm a carnivore, then you're the bad guy. You're crazy. I mean, something's wrong with you. Yeah, that is still just the funniest thing to me.
Well, what's funny to me is it's pretty much the typical society is you run into these people. Well, I've got this ache, this pain. They complain about this, that, the other thing. You see them all negative comments about life in general, and then you mention to them that they could fix this with their diet if they just tried introducing whole foods. Give up sugar, give up sodas, give up anything sweet, and try that for about a week and see how you feel, and then move on to another week and give it another week and see how you improve. But instead, they would rather just continue their miserable life in aches and pains, surgeries to fix something they're never going to fix.
Right.
Yeah,
They'd rather have a pill. They'd rather have the easy way out. I've told the story several times about my friend who had an autoimmune skin disease that was so bad that she told me it was a good thing she didn't have a gun in the house the night before. And so when somebody talks about self-elimination like that, I can't help but step in and talk to them about it. And I tried to tell her all about this and how this will heal autoimmune diseases. And what she has is an autoimmune disease, you know, and you've already seen the results in me, what it's done for me: reversed heart disease, cured IBS, cured Crohn's disease. And she looks at me taking a drink of her full sugar Sprite. She looks at me and says, "Oh, I just couldn't give up my hamburgers." You were just talking about self-elimination and you can't give up your hamburgers. You're miserable. I don't understand that mindset, but that's the way people are. And, you know, that actually brings up another reason why people fail at the carnivore diet. And that's because they can't give up their addictions. The food they're eating, they are addicted to. They cannot give it up. They're scared to give it up because it comforts them. It's what makes them feel good. And I think a lot of times people who don't have good things happening in their lives, their only happiness is their food. And so for most of us, to us, food is something to nourish our bodies with. It's not for pleasure. Now, that doesn't mean we don't enjoy our food. I enjoy the heck out of my food. You know, I love it. I love the taste of smoked meat, grilled meat, you know, fire broiled meat. I love the taste of it. Everything else other than that just isn't food to me. It's just it's just manure. But other people can't get to that stage. They're not willing to try to get to that stage. They're not willing to give up that addiction. And the sad thing is, if they would just give it a try, they could get over it. And it doesn't take but about 2 weeks to get over the physical addiction. Now, it may take a lot longer to get over the mental condition, the mental addiction, because I can still, my gosh, it was at least a year in the carnivore when there was a pack of corn tortillas up on the counter, and my wife would feed them to the chickens. And I looked at those corn tortillas and I got a sudden craving for a corn tortilla. I grew up eating Mexican food. I'm from San Antonio. You know, half my diet was nothing but Mexican food. And my best friend, Marco Vidal, I ate over at his house all the time. And his mama was a fantastic cook. So I grew up eating this stuff, you know, and I looked at tortillas and I thought, man, just pop one in the microwave and slap some butter and some salt on it. You know, that's all you need. But I wasn't having a physical craving. I was having a mental craving, a memory craving of how good those things used to taste. You know, it was easy enough to abstain from it and just go give me a little snack of fat out of the refrigerator and heat it up. But the addiction is why so many people fail. They can't give up what they love because they're addicted to it.
Well, it's not just what they love. It's because, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to be blunt, they're just lazy. Flat out.
Well, it's an addiction. You've had an addiction. You know what it's like.
I mean, I agree, but they're not scraping the bottom. They're not at the bottom of the barrel. This is the last straw. I don't have any other choice. I'm not going to delve into my part because I'm going to release all this on my interview.
Right.
But I can just say that my take on this is people they want to blow smoke up your backside and just hear you out for a few minutes, and once they get tired of it after 5 minutes, they move along, and then you'll see them. You know, when you're working with them, you'll see them drinking their Coke or Pepsi or whatever, eating their bag of chips and whatever. I don't care anymore. I can't
So,
help.
yeah. So Meathead, there's I know where you're getting at there. So like I was that person too, where I would yo-yo diet. You know, I'd diet for a while, lose a little weight, then I'd fall off, gain it back, gain more back. You know, and I'd oscillate back and forth. I'd be 232 down to 190, 232 down to 190, 232 down to 190. Now I'm down to 175. But I had to commit, and part of that, you know, I needed more motivation to commit. And you mentioned like hitting rock bottom, scraping the bottom, you know, and that's for me is when my health got to a point where I'm like, man, if I don't do something about this now and commit, it might be too little too late, you know. And so then I had the motivation to make this a permanent change, hoping that it wasn't too late to fix my illnesses that was going on. So I kind of get that. I also like what you said about just start with whole foods, just get rid of the junk, you know. And that's always good advice for starting out. You know, if you're trying to make, we talked about going cold turkey. We also talked about going gradual. If you're going to go gradual, start by, as they say, you know, shopping the perimeter of the grocery store where you're just getting the whole natural foods that you would find in nature if you were a human living thousands of years ago, and stay away from all the stuff that sits on the shelf and doesn't rot in the center of the store. So that alone is a good start. And you'll probably see tremendous benefits just from that. And then, of course, then you can experience even more benefits the more stricter you get with your diet as you lean more towards carnivore.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I got to be a carnivore police. I'm going to be a grammar police. I can't. I got to say it.
Okay.
Stop using a double modifier.
What was my double modifier?
What you just said, more something. The people have used that more so loosely. It's more tasty. No, it's tastier, tastiest. It's the tastiest thing I've ever tasted. It's not more tasty.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
You'll have to excuse me if I do that. I flunked English, high school English twice. I don't speak American or English. I speak Texan. You know, so
you're excused.
I don't even know what a double modifier is. I don't even know that I've ever even heard of one.
I double modify for emphasis.
Yeah.
So let's welcome Catlin to the screen. How are you today?
Catlin.
No volume yet. Oh, wait, let me unmute you.
Shame on you, Bob.
Hold on here. No, it's not on my end.
Okay.
How about now?
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Cool.
Thank you for sending me the link. I couldn't figure it out.
That's okay. If you're not used to that format, it can be confusing at first. So that's an old school format. Before social media, everything was on forums like that. So
no wonder I found it easy to find.
Yeah, it's old school. Exactly. Right. So I haven't met you. So tell me about yourself. Where are you from?
I live here in Salt Lake City.
Awesome.
Yeah. Right. And so I've actually only been on carnivore for about 6 months now, but I've been playing around with my diet probably for the better part of a couple decades. Honestly, I started with the keto diet about 10 years ago, and then I kind of let the carbs creep back in.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really work out really well for me. And so I have a condition called reactive hypoglycemia, and it's only controlled through diet. So it got to the point where the diet was no longer controlling it. And I had a really bad reaction to something that shouldn't have been a problem on Thanksgiving, just this past Thanksgiving. And I said, I'm done. I'm tired of food trying to kill me. So I was like, you know what? I love meat. I'm just going to eat meat. I know that's not going to kill me. So here I am.
Still alive.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
and I'm assuming you're doing quite well. So
Oh, it's fantastic. I set myself out to do it for 90 days. I said I could do anything for 90 days. And after about probably the first 2 weeks, I was like, I'm doing this forever. I felt amazing. I still feel amazing. I have no symptoms, nothing. And then so many other things have improved on top of that, things that I didn't expect. So yeah, everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I love it. I'm not tired of it. I'm not sick of eating meat. It's great.
welcome to the club. All right.
Yeah.
So how strict are you being? Are you being like lion diet, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs,
Well,
all
my,
animal meat, carnivore, dairy, or
well, my
carnivore-ish with some spices and coffee? I mean,
yeah. So my original plan was to do it as like the ultimate elimination diet. And then there
Mhm.
were just a few things I wanted to try to add back in, but I was really careful about the way I added them back in. So I've been able to test some things. So I have added a few things back in, but I almost never have them. The only thing that I have that isn't a carnivore that I have on a regular basis is coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I still like I eat nuts occasionally, but very rare. Coconuts seems to be okay, so I'll have that occasionally. And things like cinnamon and spices and stuff are fine because I don't have any kind of autoimmune conditions like that would affect me that
Mhm.
way. So, but mostly beef, butter, bacon, and eggs because that's just what I love to eat. So beef, butter, bacon, and eggs plus coffee.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. So I drink tea. I don't drink coffee. Coffee actually for me was an autoimmune trigger, so
Oh,
I
okay.
had to get rid of it. But I'm okay. I do okay with tea,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm meat most of the time. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, seafood, and I do
Yeah.
cheese, and I do
Yeah, I do.
I still use spices, and I
Right.
will occasionally, and again, this is rarely. So I will occasionally eat plant matter as long as it's not grains or sugar. So
Right. Yeah. I'm the same way. And I
Mhm.
tested coffee. I went off of it a couple times just to test it. And I didn't notice any difference when I was off or when it was on. So I just went ahead and left it in because it's the one thing it still makes me really happy and it's something normal I can kind of hold on
Yeah.
to. But yeah, otherwise, yeah. And I have seafood occasionally, but not very often. Chicken, I don't like anymore. That
Yeah.
was a weird thing for me. Is
Yeah,
I went on this and then I used to eat chicken like it was going out of style. And then I
Mhm.
would try to eat chicken after eating steak all the time. And it was like, no, I hate chicken.
No
I just
fat.
don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I still
Don't have
like
it
it.
doesn't have fat content.
Right. I still
Even chicken thighs don't have enough fat
No,
in them at all.
no.
No.
I have to on the
Deep
rare
fry 'em.
occasion I eat chicken, I have to drown it in butter. It's the only way I
Same.
can eat it.
Deep
Same.
fry it.
Yeah.
There you go,
Same.
Rick.
I make actually what I do is I do a buffalo sauce on the side that's basically just a bunch of melted butter and just hot sauce.
Yeah.
And I just pour that on.
done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I still
Yeah.
like chicken, but I find if I eat chicken, I'm hungry again just a couple hours later. It's not
Same.
it doesn't
I
sustain
used to
me.
love chicken,
Yeah.
but it turns out I didn't love chicken. I
Right.
loved fried chicken.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Being a Southerner, I love fried chicken. So it
Yeah.
wasn't
I
the
do
chicken I
too.
liked; it was the fried breading on the skin.
No
That's a
breading
good
here.
point.
Yeah.
'Cause I like chicken with ranch. I like chicken with barbecue sauce. I like chicken wings with the mango habanero or the Cajun Yeah, so I get it.
You're making
A lot of
Rick
my
sick. He's fixing
previous
to puke.
chicken eating usually
Nasty.
had some sort of sauce accompanying with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Garlic
My,
juice.
my
This is
thing is Jeff, you got a smoker out there, and you should
Oh, yeah.
you should utilize it to smoke some chicken.
I have.
And
I'll smoke plenty of chicken.
that's my go-to when I want chicken. I put it on my grill, smoke it.
Yeah, and it's about
And
the only thing that makes it palatable.
yep.
Give your chicken a heart attack. It'll be good.
Well, I actually gave up breaded chicken a long time ago because I've had this condition for a long time and I figured out diet a long time ago. So I had given up breaded chicken a long time ago. No, for me it was the crispy chicken skin on the thighs that I really liked. And I still
I do
love
too.
the skin. But I get down to the
Mhm.
meat
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like I don't want it.
My
Okay,
wife will
no.
buy a rotisserie chicken. She'll bring it home, and I'm like, just give me the skin off of it.
The
I
same,
can do the skin.
same.
That's all I want.
You
Yeah.
know,
Did-
I'm gonna disclose something that it was gonna come out in my interview, but while we're talking about it, throughout the years of my diet, um, my family didn't like the fat off the meat. I was always told, don't eat the skin of the chicken; it's bad for you. And I'm like, well, look, if you guys aren't going to eat it, I'm not giving it to the dog. I'm going to eat it, and that's what I ended up
Yep.
doing. I'd clean the scraps off their plates and enjoy the fat.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, you know,
I
one
still
of the
do that.
beauties of beef, it's
Be right back.
it's the one food I don't have to put nothing on.
No, I just put salt on mine. That's it.
That's all I need. I don't have to add nothing to it. I don't have to put nothing. It's always delicious. And for me, lamb is the same way. I raise my own sheep, so
Yep.
I generally have lamb around. Any ruminant animal, I don't have to add nothing to, except venison. I'm gonna have to add some butter to it because it's just too stinking lean.
Beef tallow.
You know? So my deer meat I have to eat with venison. I'm deer meat. What an idiot. My venison I have to eat with butter.
Slow cook it in beef tallow.
All right, very nice. Yeah, so a lot of people they tolerate coffee just fine. I just when I gave up coffee, my ulcerative colitis magically went away, and I was able to quit meds. So I was amazed. I was amazed that this was an issue for me. So I don't drink it anymore.
Well, you shouldn't consume anything that causes you pain, for sure.
Right? Yeah. So
But
Bob
people do
hasn't
all the
made it.
time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bob-
I know. I know people get their limbs cut off eating high sugar diets, having diabetes, and having their legs amputated, and they
So sad.
continue to eat the stuff.
But you know, nobody except people like us are telling them any different. They believe their doctors, and their doctors tell them, "Oh yeah, you can eat that stuff. It's okay.
Yep.
You're taking medication."
Right. Yeah, I'm actually in college right now. I'm studying nutrition science.
Cool.
I got into nutrition after I discovered the connection between diet and controlling my symptoms years ago. And it is insane what they're still teaching in these institutions about what a person on diabetes should be eating, what's a proper diet. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it is.
Nobody should be eating that, let alone somebody with diabetes. It's crazy.
Yep.
All right, let's catch up on some comments here. Bob joined. Welcome, Bob. It's nice to have another Bob. Glad you're here. Target Prime Rib says that he had a live from this morning and a special guest on it, so go check that out. So yes, go check out Target Prime Rib and see what that's all about. And by the way, I went over to your channel the other day and I did subscribe to it, and because I like to support the smaller channels as well, and I appreciate you being here supporting us as well. Papa Carnivore says, I've been trying to give myself a massive heart attack, but I keep failing miserably because I keep getting thinner and healthier. Rick lied to me, and Rick left the screen, so he doesn't catch that. All right. And then, by the way, I blocked the troll, so thanks for pointing that out. So I didn't know that was going on because, of course, we don't pay attention to this until we come over here. So he promised me massive coronary, but I'm still alive 3 years later. He had bought 9 steaks today. They were all fascinated with my order, but once I told them I eat only meat, they were horrified. That's funny. As soon as you say that to someone, they're like, what? So, and I never had someone say, oh my God, can I come to a house with all those carrots? All right. And then we got you the link. And
Got free mangoes here.
all right. Oh, I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I want to see.
I heard it.
I want to see a picture of you preparing an iguana. You need to, that's what you need to make a YouTube video of how.
I have videos.
Oh, do you? Perfectly prepared
Yeah.
an iguana? Okay, I'll go look
I
those
have
up.
them on the
Yeah.
sink, and I have them cutting them up and frying them and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I went and looked up after last week's conversation. I went and looked up your interview with Dave Mack. It was
Okay.
pretty good. I listened to the whole thing. Really enjoyed it.
That was his first one. I've been on a lot of interviews. It's funny that people forget about me.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. There's some
You
conversation.
can skip
going
through
on
all those
here.
conversations.
Yeah, I'm seeing that here. We don't need to put all those up on the screen here. So I sometimes have pickles or sauerkraut with my meat, and I drink a cup of fatty coffee. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. In fact, I've heard that fermented is the way to go if you're going to do that. So Michael on Facebook over there says, well, greetings from Tampa Bay. So thank you, Michael. It's good to have you here. And I'm from Ohio. We're representing again. We got Ohio, Texas, Utah. Oh, Rick's in Florida.
Miami.
Yeah. So we have a fellow Floridian here. And Meathead, where are you again?
Undisclosed.
Undisclosed. Okay,
I know where he's at.
He's off grid. He's off grid. That's okay. All right.
Jeff knows.
I too have my deer meat with venison. That's good. They go together well.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Sugar diet is so irresponsible. Take it from a diabetic who already lost his toes. And yes, Target Prime Rib has lost some toes already. So yeah, he would definitely have the qualifications to say that about the sugar diet.
There's the expert right there.
Right.
Well, you'd think losing body parts would be enough, but apparently it's not.
Right. Okay. This is Old Hilly.
Wow.
That's who this Bob is. Over from Old Hilly over on the forum. Oh, glad you could join us tonight. So,
Glad you're here, Bob.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good to see you.
Okay. All right.
Nice looking catfish too.
And so we have someone named Thomas trying to join here. Oh, this is
Wonder who that could be.
Yeah, no, this is Target Prime Rib. Here we go. This Target
All
Prime
right.
Rib. So I had to wait for the video to load. I'm like, okay, who's this Thomas guy?
You
Now
need to
I know-
shave,
now
brother.
I know his name. He's Thomas Prime Rib is who he is. So.
Yes.
All right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. I wasn't going to come on first because I have a really bad cough, so I figured I'd come on for just a few minutes and say hello, basically.
All right. Awesome. And where are you from?
I am from New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay.
Yeah. So I know
All
it's
right.
not your typical
Have you-
Texas to Florida.
Have you not seen him over on Kiltz's Tribe?
No, I have. Yes, I've seen him on
Okay.
Kiltz's Tribe. Yeah. And I see Target
Yeah,
Prime
Carnivore.
Rib in a lot of the live streams that pop up in my feed. I join several of these live streams throughout the week when I can.
Right.
And he's a name that I see there often, along with Rick and Papa
Well,
Carnivore, actually.
I try to be like Papa Carnivore and be everywhere.
Yeah.
Be like that. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then we're at we're hour and 8 minutes now, but I just wanted, now we got 6 on the screen. I just wanted to say, remember, we've got room for 4 more. And you can join the stream as an on-screen participant if you have a webcam and a little bit of courage. The
And
link is over.
$5.99.
The link is over at carnivoretalk.com. You have to register as a member, and then there's a private member-only section with a post pinned at the very top. It's the very first post, says how to join us, how to join Bob and Jeff, or Bob and Geezy, it might say, on the Monday Night Lives. You click on that, and there's the link to actually get in here. So you can do that too if you would like to join us. And unless you're that troll we had to throw out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, you please do not come over here and do not try and join on the
feed
screen.
trolls.
All right. And then Rodney says he lives in Missouri and upstate New York. Where are y'all at in those places?
I unsubscribed to Dr. Sawez after he did that nonsense video the other day.
Yeah, so I like Dr. Siwes.
Used to.
And I did not see the video when carnivore goes wrong. I saw he did a video the other day about humans are not carnivores.
Yeah.
And then I know
Wow.
today, I know Bart K just did a video where I'm sure he's tearing it up because that's what Bart K does.
as he
But
usually does.
But I haven't,
Even mentioned me.
but I haven't watched it yet. So,
That was
and
good. Bro.
yeah,
Yep.
but I actually do like I like Dr. Cyrus. So, and I get where he's coming from, and he's always championed keto more so than carnivore. So it does surprise me that he feels the way that he does. So, and all right.
It was like the thing of it is, it was like he was on the fence with carnivore, and when he did that last about being carnivore, it's not what we're supposed to be. It was like a kick in the nads.
Mm.
And then I'm sorry, but he's always trying to peddle stuff too.
Yeah.
So I like him as a person, but I lost faith in him as a YouTube personality.
He promotes that keto IQ supplement or something. So Terry
Right.
dropped him also. Papa Carnivore says he watched Dr. Park K rip Cyrus to shreds on his funny reaction video today. It's a must see. I do plan to
I
watch
will
it.
look at that.
I plan to watch it. I like Bart K.
Yeah.
Bart K over him any day.
Yeah, and but I listened. Like I said, I did not see Dr. Cyrus's video today about carnivore going wrong. I didn't even see that one show up. But yesterday, the one that he had, we are not carnivores, and it's like he's not wrong depending on how you choose to label things. And this is kind of where I hate labels. So, like, what is a carnivore? Well, if he thinks that a carnivore is only ever eating meat all the time, well, not even Professor Bart K will say that. Professor Bart K will say a hypercarnivore is someone who consumes 70% of their diet from meat. So Bart K, he loves carnivore. He promotes carnivore. He openly admits he's not carnivore. But he's mostly carnivore, just like most people are. So it kind of depends on where you're at. The strict carnivores or the carnivore police are obviously going to have a little more of an issue with that versus those who are a little more balanced in their views.
I'm balanced in my view. When somebody says this is a normal diet, what is normal? Give me a definition of normal. Who decides what is normal?
Yeah.
There's no clear-cut definition of normal in life.
So I'm willing to say that, if you substitute the word normal, again, here we go, we come down to labels with natural, so, and again, I'm a student of Dr. Berry. So a proper human diet or a natural human diet, we're a low carbohydrate mammal. And his proper human diet spectrum is between 0 and 100 grams of low carbohydrate or veg, or it could be fruit for all I care. But I do think we're a low carbohydrate animal, and where you personally are going to fare best as an individual on that spectrum is going to vary from person to person. So
there you go.
I do think carnivore diet can work for everybody, but I don't think the carnivore diet is necessarily for everybody. So if that makes sense. Yeah.
But I agree with you, Bob. We can't put labels on stuff like this.
Right. Yeah. And, but that's one of the things I point out, like, Bart K is very open about that. Dr. Kiltz will admit to having French fries once in a while, put sugar in his ice cream. Dr. Berry, if he cheeses with keto. He lets his kids eat, fruit, Sean Baker says that he'll even have fruit once a year, maybe twice a year, there's some people out there will be like, none of them are true carnivores, and it's like, give me a break. Yes, they are.
Anybody
no
want
animal no animal is a true carnivore if you want to put those guidelines to it. Everybody says that a cat is a carnivore. I have seen cats eat vegetables. I've seen them eat grass. Dogs the same way. Now, here's what I like. Here's how I like to put carnivores, and this is something that I've got written down. I prefer the term that we are facultative carnivores. The word facultative comes from facility, meaning ability or choice. Intuitively, it sounds like facultative carnivore should mean an animal that merely has the ability to eat meat. In fact, biologically, a facultative carnivore is primarily a meat eater and does not thrive without animal foods. What makes a carnivore facultative is its special ability to subsist for a time on just plant foods. It is a useful adaptation for survival. Humans, like dogs, are facultative carnivores. However, we do as humans have choice in what we eat, whether to thrive or merely survive. I am a carnivore by choice, a facultative carnivore in both senses. And I wish I would have quoted who did that, but I don't remember who I got that from. It definitely wasn't for me. I ain't that smart.
Yeah, all right. Catch up on our comments here, and then we got to move on to our next point. So Sideways is an idiot, and all he does is bait people into his channel so he can sell his exogenous ketone product. I will say the constant plugging of that ketone product is annoying. I hate ads like that. So I always, as soon as he starts talking about that, I just fast forward, skip that part so I can go on with whatever he's saying.
Everybody sells something.
Yeah, everybody's selling something. And all right. My late father-in-law was a type 2 diabetic and kept on eating the sweet sodas until he lost both legs, 5 fingers, nearly blind, on dialysis 7 years, and 24/7 pain in a wheelchair. So sad. Yes, definitely sad indeed.
I'm doing what I'm doing. Keep from doing it to yourself.
All right. And then, all right. And that pretty much sums up our current comments right now. So back to our theme. My second point that I had, my first point was, planning for the adaptation symptoms and things that we can do to mitigate that, like electrolytes and whatnot, and transition slowly versus cold turkey and whatnot. My second point that I had written down also comes down to planning, and we've actually touched on this, and that was planning for cravings and temptations. So a lot of people, they try and start this carnivore diet, but they haven't cleaned out the pantry, so to speak. They haven't cleaned out the house. The freezer still has ice cream sandwiches in it. The counter still has a bag of potato chips on it. There's still a loaf of bread that needs finished up. And then a lot of people, they spend money on that, so they don't want to go to waste, so they end up eating it, and they continue then to struggle getting on that carnivore diet because those are the things that they love after all. So I think a good way to try and not fail is to plan, what are you going to do when temptation strikes? And at the beginning, especially if you're switching cold turkey, temptation is going to strike hard. And so I think it's important to try and purge your home of any junk food. This can be obviously maybe difficult if you live with other family members who aren't on board with this diet. But maybe then put a dedicated space where this is where your stuff can go, and this is where my stuff will go. And then you keep don't look at their stuff so you're not tempted by it. And then another strategy I think is good is to prepare your snacks and or meals ahead of time, because carnivore meals, you just can't open the fridge necessarily and start eating. You have to hard boil your eggs. You have to pre-cook your meat, and so there's preparation involved, because it's not this convenient open up a bag, stick your hand in, and start eating kind of lifestyle anymore. You actually have to put work into it. So preparing your meals ahead of time, and then having them in containers that you can easily get out and warm up, that's a good strategy too. So that takes the lack of desire to work when you're hungry out of the equation.
It's not work.
The other thing,
for some people it is. So.
But you also, you got to stop and think, is, why do we need to have our food hot? Why do we need to have it heated up in a microwave?
Exactly.
I myself, when I cook hamburgers, steak, one day, I knew it was going to rain for the whole week. So on my off day, I think it was the day before I had to go to work, I cooked for 4 days worth of lunches. and I kept it in the fridge, and I took it out of the fridge when I went to work, and I ate it right out of the container. It was, I don't even know if it was room temperature. You got to adapt. It's not going to kill you. Cold food is not going to kill you.
No, but it's some people. That's what they prefer. And if they had never eaten this way before, and they're used to
Right.
warm meals, and they're used to
process.
things cooked, and they're used to convenience, you know,
Spoon-fed.
then they're
Spoon-fed.
used to driving through the drive-through, and there's a nice hot meal ready for you in your bag when they hand it out the window.
Well, I was one of those.
And then to turn around and try and
Raw
eat
meat.
cold food, that's just one more hurdle of someone who's trying to adopt a carnivore diet.
What about raw meat?
That could cause them to fail. So our theme here is, trying to avoid failure. What can we do? And preparation is definitely. I work in construction. I have a microwave in my backseat of my truck. I have a dual.
You got an engine.
I have a dual. Well, I have a dual. I have a crew cab. I have a crew cab truck, and I have I bought a cheap microwave because I like warm food. I'm not a fan of cold steak, not one bit. And could I adapt to it? Sure, if I had to. I don't have to, so I can plug this microwave in and I can warm up my steak. So
I eat it raw out of the cooler sometimes.
yeah, and or eggs. I'm a hot food person, so I and a lot of people are. So when it comes to why you might fail, this is one of the reasons why you might fail. So you have to plan ahead and maybe prepare your snacks or your meals ahead of time. So,
well, the thing is, especially for people in the beginning, it's wise to have food prepared, cooked up that you can just grab when you have a craving, when you're getting an urge to cheat. My go-to was I kept a pound of bacon, and I make my own bacon.
Yeah.
So when I'll make 12 pounds of bacon at a time, and I've always got, a couple of pounds on it, at the ready. But I would cook up at least a pound of bacon and keep it in the refrigerator. And that's something I could grab cold. I could munch on it if I was getting a craving. I always have hard-boiled eggs in the refrigerator. I can grab one real quick. Yep. And these days, I'm well past the craving stage and all that. But I will cook up. I'll spend one day during the week cooking up a mess of food. Like earlier in the week, I cooked up about 4 pounds of lamb burger, 4 lamb chops, 4 large sticks of venison sausage, and some venison backstrap. And that'll last me about 3 days. I think there's one lamb chop left out of that. And right now I've got 2 pounds of lamb burger and 2 lamb roasts that are thawing, and I'll cook those up tomorrow. But I'll always have meat on handy. I can grab on the go. But I don't have the cravings anymore. It's not as important for me to keep it that way. It's just a convenient thing for me to do now. I don't snack very much. I very seldom ever snack anymore. So, but that's what worked for me in the beginning. And I think it's important that people just starting out need to cook up some food, have it something easy, quick, that they can snatch out of that fridge real quick.
Has anybody cooked in a hubcap?
No, but I've cooked eggs in a paper sack.
Okay. Yeah, I've cooked on the hubcap many times on the engine. You put the food in there, use a coat hanger to tie it to the exhaust manifold, then you put aluminum foil over the top of it. It's a great cooking tray.
Well, I told you back when I was a truck driver, I used to heat up my food on my manifold. You bet.
That's old, Jeff. That's old. Everybody knows about that. But not all of us, Rick, are lucky enough to find hubcaps that we want. We don't want to spend $25 on a hubcap so we can just cook on it.
Well, they're all plastic nowadays anyway.
Exactly. Well, what hubcaps? Those are liners.
Ford truck hubcaps with stainless steel.
And you can use Baby Moons as a walk.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I had Baby
There you go.
Moons on my Mustang.
There you go.
66.
I made my own containers using a pressure washer that you can clamp shut, They're like little clamshell containers, and you put them on the engine. If you got more than half an hour drive, you can cook your steak right in the pot.
Nice.
All right.
That's called fast food, isn't it?
Yeah. That or the iguana before you catch it.
All right. And my last little note I made under this point about preparation for like meal planning. That is, if you're going to cave, and obviously we don't want you to cave, but if you're going to cave smart. So if you're going to eat something that's off plan, make sure it's a single ingredient, whole food. Don't go for the graham crackers, don't go for the Cheetos, don't go for the Sour Patch Kids. But if you're going to cheat, and you just absolutely have to have something sweet, go for some berries, go for some nuts. Did you say a mango?
Mango, yeah, I got a tree full of them. Have
a mango. When you look at the ingredients, it should say broccoli. It should say mango. Don't go for any kind of man-made or processed food. That's really going to set you back. Something that's all natural.
One ingredient foods, yeah.
Not so much. Single ingredient whole foods is less bad, than the ultra processed man-made foods, which is really, really bad. So
local.
Yep. And local. Yeah. So go down to your local farmer's market.
Yeah.
Support your local rancher.
Or your local tree.
These meats. Yeah, or grow your own. So yeah, because he's got mango trees in his yard. I've got cherry trees and apple trees in my yard, and
bananas, oranges, every kind of tropical fruit you can imagine.
I just got pecan trees.
Durian? You have durian?
No, I don't have durian. I can never get it to fruit, but I do have jackfruit.
Ooh, there you go. Dragon fruit?
I got dragon fruit.
Wow.
Now, something I will add to what you said, Bob, is when you do go off plan, don't take it as a defeat.
Right.
Don't think you failed because you didn't. You just went off plan.
Yeah.
Immediately get right back on that horse. Continue your journey. Forget the mistake. Remember the lesson, and just carry on. You haven't failed. You just got a little off track. Pick up where you left off and continue on, and pick up where you left off immediately. Don't think, well, yeah, I ate something off plan, so I'll just spend the rest of the day, go buy me a pizza and a half-gallon of ice cream.
Yeah, don't do that.
Just get right back on plan immediately. Go fix yourself a steak or eat some hamburger. Get back on track. It's not a defeat.
Yeah.
You weren't a failure. Keep on trucking.
Yeah, and I used to do that.
You don't want me to come knocking on your door, banging your door down, and yelling and screaming at you. Okay, just do what these gentlemen say.
I used to do that too. I used to, when I ate off plan, when I was trying to do keto, I'd be like, well, I'll start again tomorrow, or even worse, I'll start again Monday.
Yeah,
it might be Wednesday, and I'll be like, well, I'll start again Monday because Friday I want to go out and drink, and Saturday we'll probably go out to eat, and so I'll just start again next Monday. And I'd be in this endless cycle of always starting again,
It goes back to that attitude,
right?
That mindset.
Exactly. So yeah, if you eat off plan once, no big deal, but your very next meal, not the very next day, the very next meal, if it was earlier in the day, you're right back to your carnivore lifestyle. So that little bit of eating it off plan was just a little blip in the radar, and it isn't going to harm you if you don't let it derail you. And so
there you go.
Yep.
Don't let one mistake turn into a week-long binge.
Yep.
Exactly. Right. All right, going back up here to our comments. Rodney asks, if someone has a history of insulin resistance, do they have to eliminate all carbs, or can they still have some dairy in most people's experience and still see good carnivore results? Yeah, you can have some dairy as long as you're just having a little dairy, not a lot of dairy, so, if you want a glass of milk.
I've had dairy, so, as you know, I'm insulin.
Well, the thing of it is, lactose turns to sugar, if I'm not mistaken.
Lactose is sugar. Yeah.
Okay, then
Lactose
you can drink goat's milk, which is that has no lactose in it, because cats can drink it. Cats are lactose intolerant, so they always give them goat's milk.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's good advice too. So substitute your milk.
I mean, I don't really drink milk or anything like that, but I've had cheese. I've had, but I've kind of like abstained from it for the next month or so, see how it does. But my sugars are like cut in half, and they're actually a lot better now after the 5 months, and that's even with dairy. So
Right, yeah.
it is
Do you wear
possible
CGM?
for it to go down. What was that?
Do you wear a CGM?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have my meter right here. It's a little high right now. It's about 157, but
Cool.
You can get CGMs now that you can put on your arm, and it transfers the data to your phone, and you can
I have it on my
how you
phone
react.
too. The other was
have-
easier.
You can have a glass of milk, and then a couple hours later, open up your phone and see what kind of insulin spike did it give you.
Where are they putting me at?
Well,
right now, I think I have a cold, and I think the cold is bringing up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I mean, there's tons of people who eat low carb and keto and fix their insulin resistance with that. So like, your glass of milk is going to have 8 carbs of milk sugar in it. Is that going to somehow prevent you from healing insulin resistance? Probably not, So, obviously the more carbs you can cut, the faster you may see results.
It probably help take it out.
But a keto diet is still 20 grams of carbs or less,
right.
And that glass of milk would fit into that threshold. So, but the goat's milk, that's a good suggestion. I didn't know that it didn't have lactose in it.
Yeah, I actually do goat's milk.
Oh, dang.
That's actually pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Goat's milk and goat's cheese.
Because I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to just a second here.
I wonder if I can highlight. Let me move the comment here. So 11 carbohydrates and 11 sugars. So those sugars are that's pure goat's milk, right?
Yeah, it's what do you call it? What do they do with the cow's milk? They homogenize it, whatever.
Pasteurize it.
Pasteurize. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, that tells me that there's probably 11 grams of lactose in it.
That's weird.
You thought it was.
That's for an 8-ounce serving, an 8-ounce cup, and I think cow's milk is usually 8 grams of sugar, so that actually looks like it might have a little more. And,
the only difference is goat milk is the A2 variety, so maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Oh, that could be, yeah, because for some people that matters. The A2.
It matters for me. That's all I can have.
Yeah, I can have A1. I can have A1 or A2. I don't have hardly any food sensitivities except for coffee, actually, believe it or not. So I can drink A1. I get some A1 raw milk down here and raw cream, and I'm okay with that. But a lot of people they can't do the A1, but then they find if they drink A2, they're fine. So yeah, that could be there. So Rodney, if you wanted a glass of milk once in a while, as long as it's not going to send you on a bender, you're probably going to be okay.
Gonna check
it is still carnivore. Milk is still carnivore.
Right. I didn't realize they had that.
I eliminate all dairy right now for the next month or two, so we'll see how well I do.
Yeah.
I never drink milk.
Yeah, and
I'm off dairy right now.
Some people don't want any dairy, because dairy is designed for to fatten up a baby cow. So it kind of might work against your weight loss goals.
Yeah. Well, not that I have any goals like that, but
I want to gain weight.
So Thomas, are you just doing this as an experiment?
For the no dairy? Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I'm guessing that there's going to be some good results. So, we'll see.
I go through periods where I abstain from cheese and yogurt. I make my own yogurt.
I do too.
I love yogurt and cheese. I love dairy. But I have periods where I have to abstain from it because I start eating too much. It's very addictive to me.
That's
so
how
I
it is
have
for
to
me.
moderate it big time.
Yeah. If I don't control myself,
I made some carnivore pork rind nachos yesterday. From a
well, don't entice me.
Huh?
I said, don't entice me.
Yeah, sorry about that. But anyways, that's I hadn't had any cheese in a month, You know, so that was my big treat. Went all out, and I had some yogurt today, and that was it. I probably won't have any dairy again for at least 2 weeks or longer.
Oh, goat's milk is lower than in lactose than cow's milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and all those milks, all those other kinds of milks are perfectly fine, perfectly good, and yet some people fare better on those too. All right. Rodney says that having a stress test done tomorrow to determine if they have any arterial blockage. For those of you that are familiar with my heart condition, which is doing better, thank you, Jesus. Good to hear you're doing better. I hope that you get good news with your stress test. Please let us know as soon as we get some results.
Yeah, Rodney, just to let you know, you're still in my prayers day and night. I know what his heart condition is. We've talked many times about it, and I'll now put your stress test in my prayers too, hoping for the best results.
All right. Okay. All right. That pretty much finishes up our comments. Let me find it so I can remove it. There we go. All right. And then my last point when it comes to why some people fail on the carnivore diet, the last point that I could think of in my preparation for this part tonight was social or peer pressure. Yep. And so, everybody else is going to feel like everybody else is going to think that carnivore is unhealthy, extreme, a fad diet, taboo, and and we all know that it doesn't get a lot of support or encouragement from people. In fact, the first thing you're going to get is some negative remarks. Only until people see you reverse health conditions or lose massive amounts of weight do they start to change their tune, and they're like, oh, well, that's good for you. So I wouldn't do it, but it's good for you. Then they get a little more supportive, but it still becomes difficult because at first friends and family are going to try to shame you for you only eat meat, and they're going to try and make you sound like you're crazy. And then also when you go out to eat, it might be a little difficult there because then you're in with a crowd of people. If you went out to eat with a group or with some family, and then you're trying to negotiate with the server to get yourself a pure carnivore friendly meal, and everybody's looking at you like you're crazy. And so you need to prepare for that in advance. And the way to prepare for that in advance, in my opinion, is just to educate yourself. So you need to educate yourself. Why is it indicated that a human being should eat this way? Why is it good for you? What are the benefits? And how are we designed? Get into the science of it. Why are we designed to have a primarily meat-based diet? And you have to basically educate yourself so you have a lot of knowledge about the subject. So when people start criticizing your carnivore diet, you can make a defense, and because you can defend yourself, and you can become confident in what you're doing because you've done the research, you've done the education. So in all three of these points that I've brought up tonight, planning and educating yourself are really at the heart of it. If you do that, then your chances of succeeding on a carnivore diet, I think, are going to increase by multiple folds, because then you won't give into the pressure. You won't bail out when the transformation, the adaptation symptoms settle in at the beginning, and you're not going to give in to temptation. Or if you do, how to get right back up and keep going again. So that's pretty much the primary points that I had brought out for tonight. How do you deal with social pressure?
Okay, there. Thank you.
Or how did you deal with social pressure back when it was a struggle for you? So
okay, well, maybe you all can tell, but I didn't let any of that bother me. If you're any type of person, and you got to respect my wishes, because this isn't about my health. me now for another 15, 20 years, then you're not going to question, and you're not going to judge me. I don't judge you for what you're eating.
We lost you.
Yeah, a little broken up there.
Sorry, I basically told my friends, because we have a big Chinese New Year celebration every year, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and it just so happened that there was a lot of events last year when I first started, and I just told them, I said, I can't eat this, and I made adjustments. So they didn't have to go out of their way to accommodate me. They didn't have to cook me anything special. I didn't have to bring anything. I just fasted. And then like a couple of times we went out to eat, and they're like, well, what is he going to eat? It's like I was the odd guy out, and I said, don't worry about me. I'm enjoying the company. You know, the previous meathead would have been a real jerk and would have said, well, what about me? What are you going to, how are you going to make me happy? But I'm not. I was there for the company, enjoying everything. Everybody is enjoying themselves, eating, and they've grown accustomed to this. They don't try to force their ideology on me, and I don't on them. So, yeah, I let people think what they want to think. I don't let it affect me or my path.
All right, very good.
For me, it never affected me. I don't have social pressures. I'm a bit of a positive deviant. I've always stood alone, and I've never. People ask questions, but very seldom does anybody ever challenge me on anything. I've always stood alone. I've always been my own man. Even when I was a boy, I was my own man. You know, it's just how I am. So I do what I feel I need to do for myself, and I don't care what anybody else thinks about it, because this is about me. It ain't about nobody else. It's about me first and foremost. And now I do think of my family. I think of my kids and my grandkids, but I do this for me first, and then secondary for them. And I keep myself, as you said, Bob, well informed. You know, I study this on a daily basis. I'm into nutrition. I'm always searching for answers. And so I am confident when somebody tries to challenge that I can stand up and debate them anytime. And that includes my doctor. And this is something that I think is very important. A lot of people are intimidated by their doctors. And I try to tell them, don't be intimidated. Be your own person. Know that what you're doing is the right thing, and know that what they're telling you is the wrong thing. Do your research and find out exactly why they're wrong. Not just why you're right, but why they are wrong. And you need to let them know what you are doing, because they're going to document it, and that's a good thing. You want them to document it because you want a paper trail showing that what you're doing and what you've accomplished is working. Because there's going to come a time, I believe, when these doctors are going to start comparing notes, and they're going to be going, man, I got this patient here that, my gosh, he totally reversed this or that.
Yep.
And he did it by eating this. There must be something to this. And there's been a lot of doctors that have come around, and I'll give you an example. So my doctor, my primary care physician, he loves everything I've done. He's actually told me, he said, man, you get it. You really get it, you know? And then when I tell him what I'm eating, he's like, oh, no, you need to eat lean meat. Can't have the fat, blah, blah, blah. So no, doc, sorry, you're wrong. This is how I got to where I'm at now, is by eating a high fat diet. So this already proves you were wrong. You know, well, I need you to go on a statin because your cholesterol is high. No, it's not high. It's normal for me. It's perfectly normal. There's nothing wrong with my cholesterol. And okay, well, I want you to at least do a CAC score. I says, okay. will insurance cover it? And he goes, no, insurance won't cover it. You have to pay for it out of pocket. I says, well, then I'm not going to do it. And he says, I think it's important. I says, why? He said, well, we need to know if there's any plaque buildup. I said, why? It's not going to change what I do. It's not going to change a thing in my life. I'm not going to change and deviate from what I'm doing now. It doesn't matter what you find in any test or score. Okay. And I can stand up and face that man like that because I know what I'm talking about and I know what I've done. Now, on the other hand, my cardiologist, he's like, dude, keep doing what you're doing. You're great. You are doing fantastic. I am no longer on any heart medication. I have totally reversed my atrial fibrillation. It is where I was having 10, 12, 15 palpitations a day. If I have one in a week, I barely even notice it. It's so mild. This has changed my life entirely. So you cannot tell me that what I'm doing is wrong when I have cured Crohn's, I have cured IBS, and I have reversed heart disease. And that's just the top 3 out of the 16 other different things that I've cured in my body. You know, my cardiologist thinks I'm doing great, and he's the one that's in charge of my heart. Well, technically, I'm in charge of my heart, but, you know, he's overseeing it. He now has me, instead of coming in every 3 months, he has me coming in. He just wants to see me once a year just for a checkup. Run an EKG. Let's see how you're doing. Give me a progress report, and that's it.
All right. How about you, Catlin?
Yeah, I think you just have to be your own health advocate. I mean, really, at the end of the day, nobody cares about your health more than you. At least we hope that that's the case. You know, when I went on a keto diet years ago, I got all kinds of slack from people. Like, they didn't understand why I wasn't eating the donuts in the break room and stuff like that. And I was like, it wasn't worth it to me. And I'm sorry, but food's not worth dying for.
No.
So, yeah, you just got to be your own health advocate, though, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You can't rely on doctors to, most of them don't know. They don't know anything. I'm trying to change that. That's why I'm going into nutrition. I'm going to try to change the narrative a little bit. At least I hope.
More people like you out there.
Yeah. I still visit my doctor, even though we don't always see eye to eye, because I'm hoping he's learning from this a little bit. So, and same thing, you know, he loves to write his prescriptions. I love to decline them now. You know, I'm just, you know, I'm not interested. And the last one that I went ahead and acquiesced to ended up taking my stage 4 CKD and putting me into stage 5. So I'm kind of done with any kind of pills. So
What's a doctor?
Yeah. The only thing
you know, if we'd have started when you started, we probably wouldn't know what one is either.
Right. I was going to start thinking that.
It's almost 30 years since I went to a doctor. It's crazy.
Well, I'm accident prone, so I actually see doctors quite often.
But for a different reason.
I tried counting up how many stitches I've had in my lifetime, and I lost track after a couple of hundred.
I've had to stitch myself.
Okay, that's badass. I don't think I could do that. I've removed my own stitches, but I don't think I could put one in.
Oh, I put it in. I use that hooked, needle, and lots of fun.
I might be able to do the staple. I don't know if I could sew it.
I got it done. And I have to admit, I used a little plant technology to reduce the pain.
Yeah. We'll leave that one at that.
I've always used butterfly stitches or tape. Last week when that ceiling fell on me and I was cut on the head and cut across the nose right here, it was there was a flap of skin that I could peel back. I just taped it back together. And
super glue.
Yeah, I just taped it back together, and it's grown back together. You're not going to be able to see it on camera. There's a little mark there. It might be permanent, but
super glue and string.
It was probably stitch worthy. I probably could have got stitches. So
I've done.
I've used a lot of battlefield sutures in my day. That's what super glue was made for, is battlefield sutures.
That's right.
I'm a leather worker on the side, so I'm always cutting myself, nicking myself. My tools are extremely sharp, so
Mhm.
I keep some super glue in my shop.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, Catlin, I like what you said about being your own advocate, and that goes along with what I said about being confident. So you know what you're doing, you know why you're doing, you know why it's going to work, and therefore you've got this like almost like a wall, a defense, that nobody's comments or anything are going to be able to penetrate. So
Yep.
yeah, and so for that first year, people gave me weird looks. I'd go to graduation parties, wedding receptions, congregation picnics where everybody brings in all these dishes and sweets and stuff, and yeah, I just would have nothing, and that was pretty unusual because the person I was just a year before was a shop vac, and I would I used to have to sample everything, and then all of a sudden I won't touch any of it. So people saw that and was like, "Whoa, what's wrong with you?" But
Well, and a lot of times a person's demeanor has a lot to do with whether somebody's going to challenge them or not.
mhm.
Yeah.
I'm confident, I'm bold, and I don't get challenged. People don't want to take me on.
So I must look like a pushover. I swear, my doctors, my doctors, well, my cardiologists love to challenge me, and this new one, I put in his place. He stopped him after he said statin, explained to me why my liver's trying to kill me. Show me that, and I'll take your statin.
Yeah. Well, doctors think they're up here. When we're talking about social pressure, we're thinking about people who are standing shoulder to shoulder with you.
Yeah.
Your friends, your family. And that they can sometimes be harder to say no to than it can be to say no to your doctor. Because you have this acquaintance with them.
Sure.
And if they're your friends, you might actually like them and respect their opinion. But then now you have this disagreement, and so that can be a pressure that can cause some people to fail, and of course we don't want them to fail. So educate yourself. Follow these carnivore influencers, especially the doctors. Learn why this works and why you are designed this way for it to work. So that's what's key. That's what I believe is key. Terry says, no more restaurants for me. I only eat at home now. That's good. I go out to eat like once every 2 weeks ish. Let's see here. And then I'm trying to resist putting everything on the screen. So
Yeah, super chat out there.
Yeah.
I haven't got down there yet.
Oh, okay.
My doc has quit asking for a A1C and has quit asking for a colonoscopy. Maybe I should be worried.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doc's like, you know what, we're just gonna let this guy go.
Yeah, it's like if you're
Well,
diagnosed, you'd be asking for
There does come a point when you reach a certain age when they just quit.
Right.
Right. Yeah, they only do colonoscopies
hold
up to a
his
certain
bum.
point. Yeah, because then after a certain point, they're like, well, yeah.
What's the point?
What's the
Well,
point?
like me, I'm getting to that point. They keep wanting to do core samples, as I like to call them, for prostate cancer. And right now I'm turning them down over it. It's like I'm actually getting to that point where when somebody gets prostate cancer at my age, they don't even mess with you anymore. They don't even bother to try to treat it because your odds are you're going to outlive the cancer. You're not going to die from the cancer. So it's not that big a deal.
Yep.
Right.
And when they go to do the test, just make sure they give you flowers and chocolates afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I've had it once. I won't go through that archaic torture again.
Carnivore Muscle has joined the chat. Welcome. Glad to have you here again. And then
Hey, Jonathan, how you doing?
Ronnie says he's never had a colonoscopy. I had ulcerative colitis, so I've had
Neither
like
have I.
6. What's that?
I've never had one either. Never had a
Yeah,
colonoscopy.
I've had like
I've
had like
been
6
told
'cause
I
was
need
getting
one,
them.
but every time I go, the doctor is like they keep on making excuses not to give it. So
I've had several. looking for different things. It's actually pretty restful.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's just the prep that is rough.
They put me out, so I
they knocked me
enjoy
plumb
being
out.
put out.
Very comfortable.
Well, I'd hope they don't keep me awake if they ever did it to me, but
There are places that will keep you awake, but they put me out. Yeah.
No.
And I actually like the experience of being put under. So I like when they put the other end and they're like
there's just some things you want to be put under for, and that's probably one of them.
Bet you can't count to 10. They say, bet you can't count to 10, and I'm like, oh, that's a challenge, and I'll start counting, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up and it's all over.
Hey, Bob, that's a topic for another discussion off live. I'd like to talk to you about.
All right, yeah. Rick, when's your birthday? Carnival Muscle wants to know. Oh, you
Friday the 13th.
This Friday, really?
How apropos. Friday the 13th.
The oldest carnivore.
Yeah.
As in this Friday?
Yeah.
Yep.
Happy birthday.
Mine's the day before.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'll be
Happy
57.
birthday to you both.
Thank you.
Be 57.
I will be 69.
There you
Catlin, nobody knows our body like the ones that live in them in most cases. That is absolutely true. And Carnival Muscle, thanks for bringing us the quack. Thanks for the super chat.
Quack, quack.
That's believe it or not, that's actually the first ever super chat.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're moving up.
You're
in the
growing,
world.
Bob. You're growing.
You deserve a reward for that. So I'll
Absolutely.
have to visit you on a live and like give the 2 pounds back. Is that what that would be? 2 pounds? I don't know what the symbol is. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Follow the carnivore influencers, especially the nutritionists, given that it's their profession. Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. Quote from my pastor decades ago, which I still believe and quote today: some doctors do some good sometimes. Yes, that's very good. All right. So I tonight actually have to sign off in 5 minutes. So at this point, we have an open floor. Anything anybody want to share or talk about before we wrap this up for today? How about a theme for next? How about a theme for next week?
Well, in our theme tonight, I want to say something that's really important is why a lot of people fail is the lack of community.
Mm-hmm.
The support. That's very important to a lot of people. You get your strength from that, and that's why sites like this are important. It's like sites like Kiltz's Tribe, CarnivoreTalk.com. These sites are important because it brings us all together in one community of one mind, with one goal in mind.
Yeah. What communities are you in? I'm obviously I run CarnivoreTalk.com. I'm also a pro member in Dr. Barry's community. I actually pay for that, and I enjoy it. So I think it's money well spent. And I'm also in Kiltz's Mighty Tribe. And as far as and then I surf across many of these YouTube channels that are carnivore centric as well. So, but things I've never set foot in, like SBG gang. I don't know what goes on over there. On Facebook, there's World Carnivore Tribe, which I think Sean Baker set up. But that's massive, So, and then on Facebook also, Dave Mack has a little group over there, and so I'll see that one once in a while. I don't really do the Facebook thing a whole lot though. If it shows up in my feed, I might participate, but it's too much. It's so busy over there. I like going to specific dedicated spots for carnivore material where that's all I'm going to see. So.
Yeah, for me, it's Carnivore Talk and Kiltz's Tribe. I do a lot in Kiltz's Tribe, and here recently, Rodney got me turned on to it, and that was Carnivores for Christ on Facebook. But I'm not as active over there just because I'm not a big Facebooker. I just don't care for the platform that much. It's too random and too much.
I'm probably the least
Oh, that's right.
active antisocial carnivore there is.
No, not you.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about me?
I go. Well, no, you're more active than me, Rick, because I take a hiatus from all social media. I don't do social media, YouTube. Yeah, how long has it taken me to do a live stream? This is the first time. This is like the third time that people have seen
I
the
think this is
jerk.
I think this is your third week, maybe fourth. You
Yeah.
might have you been here from the beginning?
No,
No, you were on
or
week
maybe,
2.
yeah.
Okay.
I was. Yeah, I
You
was.
have.
Yeah, I was.
You have.
The first one was, I know, me and Jeff's 2-year carniversary. That was the theme.
I was there. I was there.
Okay. Yeah, then
Yeah,
okay,
you
so
were
you've been
there.
a part of every one of our lives then. Okay.
But I'm not a part of any other channels. I've unsubscribed to a lot of people because they irritate the crap out of me. I'm not. I don't like being into really, I guess, communities because, like Rick, everybody's trying to. It's what they can peddle. I'm not
Mhm.
interested. If you can, information should be free,
Right.
and you shouldn't. You should be there for the betterment of the human species.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got to make a buck off of somebody's demise, well then, I these doctors now mind you, these doctors they're providing a service. They're doing great. Dr. Chaffee, Dr. Baker, uh, who's who's the who's the one you follow? Bob,
Dr. Barry?
Sorry.
Dr. Barry, yeah,
Yeah.
they're all doing great, but they do have overhead.
Mhm.
So I understand completely. But a lot of these other people that just jump on the bandwagon and trying to make a buck, well, yeah, they don't do anything for me.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm probably less social than any of you 6 or 5. Yeah.
Carnivore Muscle says, SBG gang, how to not fix people's
Mhm.
health problems with the generic and poor practices. Like I said, I don't really know them.
He's right.
I watched some of Bella's videos. There was a doctor that's in her group that was a guest on Kills. He seemed like a nice guy, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what goes over there too much. I know Todd Bachnes is over there, and he's a big fan of her, and they do lives together and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I don't know. I think Steak and Bella Gal is probably worth following on YouTube wise, but I don't know what goes on in the community. Welcome back, Power Up Carnivore. We're about to wrap this up because I actually have to close tonight. I can't do this indefinitely like I did.
Wishful
did you
healing
miss?
humanity.
What did he miss? We gave Tarot Destroyer a promotion. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I put him on a 24-hour ban only because that's the first button. The first time I tried to, I said hide him from the channel, but then his chats kept coming. I'm like, well, I just hid him. What gives? So then there
Bob,
was
you're too nice.
yeah. So then there was a remove him for 24 hours thing, and I hit that one. So
My
Oh,
troll
good
never
nice.
came back, and I never removed him.
that's my first troll. So like I feel so
Because you didn't
blessed
feed him.
tonight.
Yeah,
I got
I made fun of him.
Does that mean like you're moving up in the world? You know?
I got my first troll tonight and my first super chat.
There you go.
So
I think
exciting.
Thomas was there when I got the troll, weren't you?
I saw.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
The carry
Oh,
troll.
On Saturday,
Yep.
you cut out. Did your power go out? Your internet go
I
out?
had a power outage, and then my internet went down.
Yeah.
Well, I was
I
the one
guess-
that told you what Mitch said. So
Yeah, that's right.
I emailed you so that you get the.
That's right. And then also, Peter thought it was Carrie, but then he figured out it wasn't. And
No.
then, Meathead over there was the first one that called in and said, "I think this is fake."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so I do have to go. I have to go pick up my dog from the veterinary hospital. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. In closing, if anyone is still watching, according to StreamYard here, we still have 18 people in here. And
Cool.
thank you for sticking around. We really appreciate it. We enjoy having you in the comments and participating that way. If you ever want to participate on screen, like the 6 individuals you see on the screen, I have room for 10. And so there's room for 4 more. If you want to participate in this roundtable discussion next Monday night, you can get in here one of two ways. You can join this channel as a subscriber for as little as 99 cents, but this is not about the money. We don't care about that. That's just if you feel like we're that cool that you want to support us. But better yet, you can, for free, go over to carnivoretalk.com, register there. That's where we spend most of our time, Sunday through Monday, talking about carnivore, answering people's questions. And we have a nice community over there. It's small, feels like family. It's not huge. And there's the link is pinned over there on how to get here on screen next Monday. And so we'd be happy to have you. And so until then, we'll see you next Monday. And everybody here, thanks for joining us. It was nice talking to all of you as always. I'm going to end the stream, and if you want to stick around, you can. Okay? All right, so we're ending in 3, 2, 1.
Good night, y'all.
Everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
And